The only person I heard from was Guy DePoe.
Yeah. All right. I would like to call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting of Wednesday, November 17th, 2021 to order. Second item on the agenda is the public comment. Anyone in the public who wish to address to the commission on any of the topics not on the agenda? Seeing none, move on to consent agenda. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
You should point out who's seating.
Yes, I think
We're gonna point that out, yeah.
the seeker would be Commissioner Zarelli, Commissioner Glico, myself, Commissioner Mahose, and
Robbins.
Commissioner Robbins, sorry.
It's been a long time.
You're so
Yes.
We've been in
You
person.
still forget.
Agenda item 4, item A, 4A.
Proposed street and open space acceptance, RJD Development LLC for O'Leary Farm Estates subdivision off of Brook Street in an R20 residential zoning district. Original assessor ID 17-025, number 1, Hawthorne Circle, approximately 2650 linear feet. Wintergreen Meadow, approximately 255 linear feet. Open space A, approximately 3.65 acres on west side of Hawthorne Circle. Open space B, approximately 1.59 acres on east side of Hawthorne Circle.
We have,
I don't know if, we do have the developer here. I don't know if Ron wants to get up and say a few words. If not, we as staff have inspected the property, the subdivision. They did a fantastic job, I want to say. There are 2 sections of open space that require acceptance. We have received the as-built plan. We have received all the documentation, deeds, open space language. So everything has been reviewed. We are recommending that it be accepted and transferred on to the town council for final action. I don't know if you have anything to say, Ron?
Well,
Hi, Ron Drisdell, 63 Hunters Ridge, owner of RGG Development and Drisdell Homes. And I'm here to answer questions if you have any regarding Hawthorne Circle. I was there for 8 years, so long time. Still paying the light bill for the street lights. So, but we pretty much have everything covered. I think I still have a little piece of equipment on the stub that I got to remove and a couple of pieces of plywood, but planning to do that in the next week or so. Otherwise, I think we're in pretty good shape.
all right. Any comments? Commissioner Zarelli,
I have none.
Commissioner Glico,
good. Set.
Commissioner Robbins, Commissioner Brescia. Right. All right, can I have a motion?
Motion to approve proposed street and open space acceptance, RJ Development LLC for O'Leary Farm Estates.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Thank you.
opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
So what will happen, Ron, is I will determine when the next council meeting this will go on to. I don't know if their schedule is different because of the holidays coming up. I will find out what's the next meeting date, and I will get that to you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Agenda item B, site plan modification, CT Farmer Real Estate Incorporated, proposing to add 45 parking spaces and a U-shaped access drive with associated site improvements to property located at 280 Dividend Road in an OP Office Park Zoning District ID 18-084.
We have a,
Fancy.
all right.
Personal monitor.
Before I speak, or
Oh,
no,
Oh.
I'll just go.
It would have to be presented. I don't
Okay,
know.
I'll do
did-
it.
Okay.
That's fine. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Good evening. My name is Mark Reynolds. I'm a professional engineer and prepared the plans that you're going to see some excerpts from. I'm going to run through. The application is for a site plan modification at the CT Farmer Real Estate Inc. Campus. The parcel is about 10 acres, and it's located between Hammer Mill, Old Forge, and Dividend Road. This is a view of the existing layout of the parcel. The orange is the building. It covers about just shy of 4 acres of the parcel. The pink area is a loading area, a paved loading area, and the yellow is the existing parking area. You can see the gray shaded areas are the 3 roads that surround the parcel. The 2 blue areas I just added there are the subject of the site plan modification. I'll be referring to them as the north area and the south area. The south area, the proposal looks like this. You see the building in the kind of orange color. A couple of things. One is that a memorial garden has been constructed, and it's in the pink area there with the outline. It's a passive use area that includes a walkway and garden, bench, etc. And then the proposed parking is in blue. The area has been the location for construction, activities on the site, and we're looking to formalize the area as parking for employees. There's a proposal of 45 spaces, and you can see a couple rows of parking. Ooh, go back down there. Right, the couple rows of parking here separated by a center aisle, and then a single row of parking here separated by an aisle, with an entrance onto Old Forge Road. The red area on there is a concrete pad for equipment that serves the building, but it's outside mounted. And so part of the use of this access will be for delivery vehicles that supply materials or to those equipment from Old Forge Road. The light green areas are intended to be grassed areas at the completion of the project, and the dark green area is a wooded area along the westerly boundary of the property. The whole campus is served by an internal stormwater drainage system. The topography of the site is very mild. It's nearly flat. And there's a perimeter of catch basins around that were constructed originally when the warehouse was originally built. And so our proposal plans to utilize that system to collect runoff such that there will be no external discharges of stormwater runoff from the proposal. There's a stormwater infiltration system proposed next to the, underneath the parking area, and then discharge into the existing system. This is the north area. Here, similar to the south area, the red is a proposed concrete pad for outside equipment that will serve the building, and the blue is a proposed driveway access off of Hammer Mill Road. So it's intended as a one-way drive-through for delivery trucks. No parking associated with this area. And similarly, the drainage will all flow towards, I'm going to try to show you, the catch basin system is like right here. It's dashed lines of the pipes. So there's a catch basin over here that will collect all the runoff from this area. So again, no changes in drainage patterns, no drainage to any outside properties on the site. The green areas would all be predominantly grassed with some landscaping, and the dark green area is a wooded area that would remain. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I think this, the site is well suited to what we're proposed. The drainage of the site is also well conceived in that the soils are very well drained in this area, and they're well suited to an infiltration style design. In addition to this, we have a lighting plan that involves 6 pole-mounted lights around the perimeter of this area, and we have an analysis that let's see if I can get to it. I don't know where it is on here. There we go. Someone's helping me out. So this is the analysis. You can see the 6 lights, with the rendering of the building. We've done an analysis to make sure that there's no, off-site lighting. They're all full cutoff fixtures on a 20-foot high pole-mounted base, but there's no outside influence of light off the property. I think you can see the type of fixture is here, and I don't know if we're going to see, it's just a straight pole, 20 feet. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm going to throw this back up so that we can look at that a little bit. Oh, what the heck happened there? All right, so one thing I didn't talk to was handicap ADA access to the parking lot. We have, again, I mentioned we have very mild slope on the site, so that's not really a problem once you get off the space. We put 2 spaces here on this end. This is the closest. The main access to the building is on the east side, so there's a walkway around the building, not depicted here, that would bring an existing walkway that would bring make the ADA path from the to handicap space very accessible. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I guess I'll add too that we are aware of comments from staff, particularly the Public Works Director. We've reviewed those. I've reviewed those with my client. All are very acceptable and achievable on the site, so we're happy to revise the plan in every way that's discussed in those conditions, those comments.
All right, thank you. We just go to the commission. Mr. Zarelli, if you have any questions?
This is going to replace a lot of vegetation and trees and stuff. You showed landscaping plan in your plans. Do you happen to have that and go through that for us?
You know what? I don't know if I have it in here. Let me think. It's not in this. It's not in this PowerPoint list. Could we bring our attention maybe to the plans? Do you have
I just
access to them?
wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page when it came to the landscaping plan.
Yeah. So the majority of the landscaping proposed is along here and at the entrance. There is a separate sheet with landscaping in the plan set. I think it. I believe it meets with all the requirements of the zoning ordinance on it, and of course, anything else that along this western boundary, we have a remainder of woods that will act as a buffer, but we focused most of the landscaping right at the front there. Yeah. Also, there's maybe it's not obvious here, but there's quite a distance from the edge of Old Forge to the parking. It's not right up on the street, so we have a good green space there.
I just want to point out, for the commission's sake, the property when McKesson built and when McKesson added on, there were several variances granted to them for coverage, for open space, for parking within setbacks, for Front yard setbacks, because there's 3 frontages, and the wording of the variances when they were done were extremely vague, because we looked them up. We had to look them up, and they were very vague. They basically referenced section numbers from old regulations, so, because we had the comments when they came in to us and said, well, you may need variances, so when we looked it up, the wording was so vague that it didn't really.
So do we have to handle anything with that, or?
No. No, I'm just saying that they have variances for almost everything. Parking, open space, and, yeah.
I have nothing further.
Yeah, a couple questions. Can you elaborate on these concrete pads? You stated that it's for outside equipment. Is that stuff that's going to be secured to the pads?
That's correct. The pads are essentially an extension of the building slab out at about a height of about like 2.5 feet, let's say, so that traffic can't like run into anything on there. But there's, Andrew, maybe you could elaborate on the types of equipment that are there.
Can you?
Yeah, come up because they won't hear you.
Hello, Andrew Simoneau, GC Connecticut. So on this, the area that's, I guess it's like a pink here, the concrete pad. Oh, thank you. In this area here, whoop, it's sensitive.
Yeah.
Can't touch that thing. All right, so this area here that goes along the east side of the building, this is actually a loading area, a lower loading area, and it's for very light duty type of deliveries. Like there's some gases that are used in the lab, and also it's an area so they can bring the refuge out to the dumpsters. On this side, this is more the mechanical area. So starting on this side here, there's a couple of small heat pump condensers, which are mounted on the floor and also on the wall, but not anywhere above 6 feet. And then coming down this side, there's some refrigeration compressors. And then on the end here is some cooling towers that runs the HVAC system. And at least where we could, because the cooling towers are very tall, but down here, we put a row of arborvitaes to block the equipment. Anything more specific, or?
Well, that explains the one on the south end of the building. There's now one on the north end.
Oh, the other side, okay. This area? Yeah. So this is proposed like to be the same type of use, but there's no loading area or anything like that. It's starting on this side, we're proposing a CO2 tank, it's a storage tank, so they use CO2 in their production. Come down here would be a generator, electrical switchgear, and a couple more cooling towers. And that would be, if this is the finished grade, the paved area, this would be raised just for the specific purpose of, not having like snow build up on it and stuff like that. So we could be able to kind of shovel and keep those areas clean around the equipment. I think one thing that it's hard to see, but if you look from Hammer Mill Road down, the topography, the road is actually, I don't know, probably approximately 6 to 10 feet higher up than this finished grade. So if you are driving down the road, these trees and these shrubs do block the area decently well. It's not, at car level.
Okay. My last question was the gate on the Old Forge Road. Is that just a does it have power to it? Is it automatic, or is it gonna stay closed?
He's asking about a gate on the entrance at Old Forge Road.
Okay, so that's Hammer Mill, to Old Forge. So Old Forge, there is a gate down here. It's actually, well within the, within the property. It's not up against the road. So, if there was we figured for a truck was pulling in. Back here, it's not large trucks, wouldn't be like tractor trailer deliveries. It'd be more like the truck that's coming in to fill the CO2 tank, or possibly a mechanical contractor that's working on the equipment, or the truck that's removing the dumpsters. So this gate will be automated. It will have access control. It will have an intercom system. So, yeah.
It'll be closed predominantly.
It will be closed, yes. It's considered, the perimeter fencing is considered secured. It's all under surveillance, access controlled, and,
Okay, thank you.
All set?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Mahomes?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. I'm not sure exactly how far up Old Forge Road. Is the condominium right across the street from this building?
It's right at the intersection. It extends from the intersection up.
Okay,
To
so it's past the condominium.
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Because I was wondering about the lighting, if the lighting would be bothering people across the street.
Right,
residents.
and that's why we went to the extent that we did with the lighting analysis.
Okay.
I can go back to it.
No, that's okay.
Okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, zero off the
Yeah,
property.
particularly, I've got two pet peeves,
Yep.
lighting at night and noise.
And also there's, all of the fixtures are full cutoff, so no upward lighting.
Okay. And the second question was going to be, you've got cooling towers, right,
Yes,
on the Old Ford side of the road.
correct.
Are they noisy?
Are the cooling?
Would they potentially bother people in the middle of the night?
The noise, no, the sound off of the cooling towers.
There's very minimal sound. It's more of a, the way the cooling tower works, kind of an evaporative process. There's a large fan in the top. There's no actual compressor or any sort of motor really to it besides the fan.
Okay.
More of a low hum. I don't know the exact decibels off the top of my head, but
Okay.
it's definitely
Yeah,
quiet.
because some of them can be really loud.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not.
Yeah.
In the time I've spent out there, the road traffic would exceed it. Decibels
Okay.
reading at the street would be exceeded by road traffic for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Raps?
So what storm event was the stormwater detention system designed for? The reason I ask is that nothing was normal this year.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. We presented analysis for the 25 and the 100 year, but the focus is on the 25-year storm event from a infiltration standpoint. But during the 100-year storm event, there's ample capacity for it to flow through the system. The infiltration system is a bypass, a separator, and a bypass. So that way we can still handle the larger storm flows without causing any nuisance flooding. But the reality is that the basin is in the low point in that whole area that you're looking at on there. So if there was a backup, it would just flood the parking lot essentially temporarily during a big storm event, which I wouldn't expect that to be a problem because everyone would be hunkered down. So, but no, we examine both, and we work through the Public Works Director to make sure he's happy with all aspects of the drainage system.
So that, is it fair to say that there's no expectation that there would be any off-site stormwater flow during a 100-year event?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all
It
I-
wouldn't be possible, the depressed area that we have there
Yep.
would not be possible in either the north or the south locations.
Nothing else from me.
Commissioner Brescia?
Where is the parking now? Is that the one off of Dividend towards the east side? Is that where the parking is right now?
The yellow area here. And so the Memorial Garden is like about where I'm putting the cursor here.
Okay.
And so the new parking is in that area.
Okay. So are you moving the handicap parking over to that?
No,
other
this is
s-
additional.
Oh, this is additional.
Yep.
Okay. You mentioned on the northern part pad putting a CO2 tank in there? Where is it now?
This would be for an expansion of use within the building.
So you're gonna put in more compressors and more, I think you mentioned a generator on that northern pad?
Yes. CO2, generator, and switchgear, electrical switchgear.
The side of the side of the building, currently, that runs along Hammer Mill Road.
Yeah, scroll down.
Sorry.
Like 2.
We're talking about this,
Yep.
this, right? Okay. So this area right here is currently vacant from production. It's just used for storage, as well as the back of this area. So the next phase of construction is proposing to be in this section, and that would require actually a separate electrical system, a separate natural gas system, separate water. It's a very large capacity type of production, right? So it needs its own support.
Okay. Is there sidewalks on Old Forge? Is there sidewalks anywhere?
On Old Forge, no.
And how about in Dividend? Do you have sidewalks there?
No, I don't think so. No. Is there?
How about Hammermill? Just checking. Sidewalks are a big thing.
I don't.
Just
At the
asking.
time it was built, no.
Yeah, but this isn't a new development, this is already there. so.
No, just asking.
That's something for our community development director.
And the generator is going to be a large generator on the northern pad? Is it going to be on all the time or just emergency generator?
No, it's just for standby purposes. We have a generator that was actually existing with the building when it was purchased on the other side. It's similar. It's a pretty large 600 kW generator, but it will have a sound, a deadening enclosure.
Okay.
And yeah, it's only standby. You know, I think this past year we lost power twice where we needed to use it, and it is pretty quiet.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, I don't have any questions.
Is,
Yeah, go ahead.
what kind of fuel is the generator? Is that natural gas?
The fuel of the generator.
It's the current one that's there is diesel.
So is there going to be a diesel tank added to the one in the rear?
So this one actually won't. It's not purchased yet, so it could go either way. In the proposal, if we need to, say that we can, but it definitely will have a containment and everything that's required if it is diesel.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion to approve site plan modification, CT Farmer Real Estate Incorporated, proposing to add 45 parking spaces and a U-shaped access drive with associated site improvements to property located at 280 Dividend Road, with all staff comments.
I'll second that.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Item C,
Set a public hearing date for the proposed zoning regulation amendment, Town of Rocky Hill, to modify the language for the accessory apartments.
Okay.
3C2, right, that whole,
Oh, you want me to read it?
Do you want me to read it and go into?
Isn't that normally done at the hearing?
Well, I want the commission to know with regulation changes like we did with the moratorium and regulation changes, typically they go before the commission first because if there's changes and you don't like them, why go to hearing? Which makes sense to me. We're talking about compliance with Connecticut Public Act 2129, and I know I have gotten a few copies to you in past packets. One of the things that they talk about is affordable housing and making housing more affordable. Some by statute, and this is, in general, making housing more affordable and allowing accessory apartments with administrative processes or by right versus a public hearing. And I know years ago we got rid of the public hearing process on this. Now it's a zoning permit just to make sure it meets the zoning regs. So staff takes care of that. So what we're proposing is in blue, the strikeout language. You can see through the text, there's strikeouts, accessory apartments. An accessory apartment, provided that the property owner shall reside in the premises, and then we're adding, and at least one accessory apartment can be allowed on each residentially zoned property. With anything, there's checks and balances as far as lot coverage go, so that kind of provides a checks and balance there as far as ability to provide parking also. The addition of an accessory dwelling unit shall maintain the exterior appearance and style of the single-family dwelling. Principal unit and accessory unit, and here there's a change, may be connected by at least one operable door on a common wall so that floor area utilized for the accessory unit can be reintegrated into the principal unit in the future. So that's one option. Or the accessory dwelling unit may be a detached accessory structure in compliance with section 3D21. Now, with accessory structures, if they're detached structures, the area of that cannot exceed the area of the primary dwelling. So you'd be getting something that may resemble a garage. As far as the size goes, it won't exceed the area of the primary dwelling. But the new Public Act does allow for detached units, and we do have some that have been in existence for a number of years prior to our accessory apartment regulation taking effect. They're in town already. The square footage accessory apartment unit, whether added to a single-family dwelling unit or created internally within the same, shall not exceed 30% of the gross floor area of the single-family dwelling unit after construction. Accessory apartment shall not be metered separately for utilities. That's something that the Public Act is calling for, because apparently many communities now do that. We already do that, but many communities have it metered separately, and we do not do that. It shall not result in more than one additional dwelling unit per lot. I don't know what that means. Shall result, I'm removing the language, result in more than 2 bedrooms for an accessory dwelling unit. That language is being stricken because in furthering fair housing, there may be the need to have an accessory unit for a family that may have a mother, father, a son and a daughter not wanting to be in the same room, what have you, so in order to prevent discrimination and furthering fair housing, to be able to rent to larger families, we're removing that language. And then adequate off-street parking shall be provided. That's already existing in our regulations. So those are the changes are, as I said, are in blue in the strikeout language.
So in 4A, you said they'll have to follow the zoning requirements, frontage, side yards and stuff like that, right?
Correct.
So is that understood, or should we make it clear? Or can it become a problem?
Well, with accessory structures, you can, in compliance, you can be as close as 10 feet to a lot line with accessory structures. That's following zoning, but we're pointing that out in here. So we're not making it more restrictive. We cannot make it more restrictive.
Any other comments?
So, I mean, is this something, if you like the idea, or if you think there might be some changes made, I mean, is this adequate enough to go to hearing if you like the concept? If not, we can work on it and then set a hearing down the road, but that's why I bring it to you now.
This creates more questions than answers for me. And some contradictions too, just in based on what we heard that, like you said, if we had a detached accessory structure on a single-family lot,
Well,
you could build another building this size of the existing structure?
It has to be less than the square feet has to be less. And that's under the other sections.
That
There's
would
other
avoid the need
sections.
to subdivide property.
It could be 1 square foot smaller.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
We have garages
to
in
fit,
town.
but
We
it
have
has to fit.
garages in town that are, that size. Maybe a 1 square foot smaller. But this, you cannot exceed 30% of the gross floor area of the single-family dwelling. So there is a checks and balance there.
So it's a 30%.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah, I
One
mean,
square
so
foot
it
less.
has to be less than and then you also have the checks and balance of 30%. Could people go in for a zoning variance? Yes. What's their hardship? Then you go into that. What's their hardship? And then it's
That's
up to
somebody
you.
else.
So with this, you technically need another driveway,
Not necessarily.
okay? And how about like another garage? And is that part of the 30%? Or is this just like a quote-unquote a tiny home, in-law apartment, that type of thing?
It could be, whether it be attached or detached, it would be a small house.
So if somebody wants to
They could do caregiver housing would qualify.
They do a rental property with this language.
Well, that's what accessory apartments are.
So I can.
Typically, the homeowner lives in one unit, whether it be the subordinate unit or the primary unit, and then they rent out to make their house more affordable. Gee, you're gonna help pay my mortgage? Okay, fine, I'll rent to you,
could be rented to the parents, like if parents are.
Yeah,
living
or your
there.
parents come to live with you, but it's not, it doesn't have to be family. You could rent
So you
it
could
out.
do an Airbnb with it. Or VRBO or whatever it is with it.
That's a
if you
whole
had-
It all sounds scary to me.
No,
I like the concept, but then it turns into.
Well,
But it-
an
it's not
accessory
going-
apartment, you could do the same thing with that,
Yeah,
so.
But
you're right.
we'll
But-
never have even the ability to weigh in on it, because it'd be permitted by staff. It wouldn't go in
And
front
that's
of the.
per new state law that just came out, which
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
given you people in the
But with
past.
this level of flexibility, and then we open this door, we can't.
It sounds like it's a state law that we're.
It's a state law, so you
We're
kind
just
of,
modifying our regs for it now.
yes.
to meet the state law. I mean, we're not.
So the
coming
state
up-
law says we
we're
have
not
to allow
reinventing anything.
detached.
I have given in the past, I don't have it with
We're
me.
just modifying
but
our regs to
I,
meet the state law.
CT, PA 2129, yes.
It's a duplex. Can you
And I can give that to you again. I'll get that to you again.
Then if that's the case, if the state law says
Because we also have a parking
we have to
regulation that
allow
we
for
have to do.
detached.
too.
Can we add to that then, so that
building
it
divided
doesn't
into
get
two.
too
So
unwieldy?
Say two-family house.
Meaning,
You can put.
I mean, if we have to
Accessory
modify
apartment?
the zoning regulation to add,
could we have just one conversation going on, because we're recording and we want to make sure we hear.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, but it's just, that it comes across on the recording, so.
if we have to add the requirement to allow for a detached accessory unit, that could be almost equal in size to the building that's already on the property.
Well, it's 30, not to exceed 30%.
Yeah, but, so you build an enormous garage, and then there's a huge apartment over the top. But it could, depending on which properties we're thinking of, we've got some pretty big houses in town. You could put a pretty big accessory apartment on, and I'm just thinking that, what kind of vibe environment is that going to create for the adjacent property owners? Is it going to result in depreciation of property values with surrounding landowners? It just sounds like
But the
we
per-
need to spend more time on this.
But the purpose of this isn't for us to come up with zoning regulations where we're going to allow people to do things that they can't do now. The purpose of this is to be in compliance with the state law, and we have to formalize it by modifying our regulations. That's why we're going to be having the public hearing. We're not deciding we're going to like Victor said, we're not gonna do something totally new.
Yeah.
That we've come up with on our own. What we're doing is complying with the state.
But
and
what is this?
making sure our regulations
What is this date
comply with the
exactly
state.
saying that we have?
Well, I don't have it with me once again, but I can get that for you for your next meeting.
The
Again,
21-29,
2129.
right?
yeah.
I think,
Yeah, I have that at home.
And I know I've given it out in, I think.
Yeah, I have
Yep.
it.
Sure, and we can make it part of the public
Yeah,
hearing or whatever.
but we could do that. It's a rather lengthy thing, so we're.
Should we put that in the language in reference to
We can,
state,
we can
whatever,
do, we
20?
can do that, but there's several other things
Oh,
in,
okay. So then
within
we
that,
don't wanna do that.
within
Yeah.
that act, and
This
you'd
is-
have to reference a
Yeah, I get it,
section.
yeah.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
That we table this and tell everybody to go home and read the regulations that we've been given?
And I'll bring them back, I'll gladly give them to you, just lean out that section
Well,
if
I
you'd
know
like.
exactly where mine is.
Okay, good.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Alan.
Fine.
Can we set a date in not so near future, but in the future, so give us the opportunity, then we have.
That's fine, because
Let's
we
just
have
set
to
the
do a
date.
zoning referral anyway.
Yeah, so let's just start the process,
Be
and
like
then
at
we
least
can
like 40
modify it at
days
that
to do
time if we
that,
wanted to.
so.
With the instruction that everybody goes home and reads.
Homework.
Yeah.
no, and with the understanding that
That.
when you have to comply with state law, it's out of our hands, whether we like it or not, it's the state law.
Well, wait, we're getting to another one.
Right.
Right,
It's
we're
not
just
there.
doing what we're being told to
Right.
do.
So
I think
can we
that's-
just combine C and D on the same date, and then we just go on to D and then make a ruling on, or we have to do it separately?
You can, because this is also to combine, this is also state as well,
Right.
as far
I
as.
get it, but
yeah.
we have two different things on the agenda.
Yeah.
Can we just combine them both? Do we have to make a motion to combine them both and make, or we have to
Just
set,
Make them the same date.
make it at the same time?
Yeah,
Individually,
you can just make
Right.
them the same day.
All right.
which would be combined
Question.
separately.
Yep.
On this, on A, it says property owners shall reside on the premise. So if there's a three-family unit or a two-family unit, could they still add an accessory apartment?
I believe you can.
Huh.
As long as the property owner is there. I believe you can. I'll check that
The property
for
owner
you.
has to live on the property.
Yeah,
I'll-
well, that's what A says. Property owner should has to reside on the premise.
I will,
I just didn't know
I
if
will
it-
verify that
I
for
didn't know
you.
if it was just like for a single.
That's your
I
homework.
think,
What?
It's your homework.
That's my homework.
I think we should check
Thank you.
whether then it falls in the definition of multifamily.
Yeah.
Because I think that's
Yeah.
what.
Yep.
So the intent is not multifamily, the intent is accessory apartment. Right? So I
Well,
think
that's why I was
Well,
questioning it.
well, I will check that for you.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it
have
seems,
a small
it seems
apartment
if,
house on my property.
I'm moving in.
Can I ask a question? What, on 4F, have we defined what a parking lot is, the appearance of a parking lot? Have we defined that somewhere?
It's in I think it's in the regs.
4F,
Our
parking lot?
zoning regulations have it.
So it's not to create the appearance of a parking lot.
You don't want a paved front yard, in other words.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
They have parking space and parking lot. And a parking lot, as defined, from my copy, it's page 21. An open area other than a street used for the parking of more than 4 automobiles and available for public use. That's a key.
I was gonna say.
Whether free or compensation, or as an accommodation for clients and customers. Private driveways serving single-family, duplex, or two-family units are not subject to this definition. But if you take this in context with public use, if you have a multifamily development, a condo development, that's not necessarily for public use. Those are for the residents and their guests. I wouldn't just go there and say, oh gee, I'm gonna park
I'm
here
gonna
and
go
take
to
a
the
walk around
restaurant
the
down
neighborhood.
street. I'm gonna park
Pardon?
here. I'm gonna park here and go to the restaurant down the street.
No, you're not
That's
gonna,
public use.
that would be public use, but if you did that, I'm sure someone would probably call the cops on you, so.
What's the first date that we can think about? We set a date, what's the date? I mean,
I would go into January.
next year.
Now, we have to keep in mind that I know, because it's an election year, there will be reappointments or appointments, because I think everyone's term's up, so I'm not sure if there's gonna be changes. Typically, there's not a lot of change. on these commissions because.
When would that be? First meeting of January,
I don't
typically?
know. That's up to the council. I know they've gone as late as February, so,
Yeah, that's true. They've been pretty, I remember one year they went to March.
yes. So anywhere from
There's no,
probably the second meeting in January to March.
there's no urgency to this. This is just getting our regulations in.
Well, I would, plus we have to do a referral, so I don't think that's a bad thing going to like the meeting in January.
No, but
I don't
the
think that's a
thing
bad
is that this is effective October 1, 2021. So I think when somebody comes in, now we have to
Yeah.
figure out how we address that issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because state law is, now it's effective and,
Correct, but I'm gonna sound sarcastic, I don't mean to be, but
No.
there isn't a line of 5 people out on the street waiting for us to change our regulations. to
Yes,
commit.
yes.
You're doing it?
Yeah.
I don't know that.
I'm ready to,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
going to
what I
Home
mean by
Depot later.
urgency, is that this isn't something.
But we do have to do a referral, so, and typically we don't meet at Christmas time.
Let's do it in
Typically,
January.
Yeah,
Just- let's
so,
just set the date, and if we have to
Yeah.
put it off, we put it off.
so we could put, I think if anything, that would be probably dealt with then.
Yeah, whatever the meeting
The
date is in
third,
January.
the third Wednesday in January.
January 19th.
Off the top of my head, I don't know what it is.
19th, it's
January 19th?
So is that a motion?
yeah, so I think we can have a motion, maybe both
Motion,
combining.
well, we got to do
We'll do
one at a
Now we
time.
have to do one, okay.
Motion to set a public hearing date for January 19th, 2022, to modify section 3.c.2, permitted by zoning permitted in a residential zone, accessory apartments.
Second that.
All in
Well, I
favor?
have an amendment, a
Okay.
simple amendment at 6:30.
I approve.
All right, all in favor with the amendment?
Aye.
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 Any
Somebody will
opposed?
complain
Motion
about that,
passes.
you know? They'll say, I thought it was
I was
gonna
going to
be
say go to 6.
Item D,
Item D, set a public hearing date for proposed zoning regulation amendment, Town of Rocky Hill, to modify the language for parking space requirements. I'll read it. You want me to read it, or you want to go for it?
Also, under CTPA 2129, there's a regulation that talks about multifamily dwellings. And if you have a one-bedroom unit, the town cannot require in their regulations more than one space for that one-bedroom unit. If you have a two-bedroom unit or more, 2 or 3 bedroom unit, towns cannot require more than 2 spaces for that unit. Even if there's 3 bedrooms, they cannot require more than 2. If a developer chooses to propose more, that's up to the commission, but we as a town cannot require more. So they can propose it, we can't make them put in more. Once again, what is in blue is the proposed language. What is strikeout, we want to remove. And we're trying to be, while housing for the elderly, and active adult housing, we're considering multifamily, even though our text does say multifamily dwellings, we're considering housing for the elderly, multifamily, and active adult housing, multifamily as well, for obvious reasons. Single-family dwellings, 2 spaces, multifamily dwellings, strike out 2, say not to exceed 1 space per studio or 1-bedroom unit, or 2 spaces per 2 or more bedroom units. Housing for the elderly, same exact language being added, striking the 1.2 spaces per living unit, and then they do, in our current language, have 1 space or employee on the largest shift. We would keep that in. Assisted living facilities, the language currently is 0.06 spaces per living unit, and it's not to exceed 1 space per unit. So, active adult housing, striking the 2 spaces per dwelling unit, And it would be the same exact language, not to exceed one space per one-bedroom unit or 2 spaces per 2 or more bedroom units. The other language in this particular section would remain the same.
Pretty straightforward.
So I'm just, I know we discussed this, the other one, but I just came across one where it says for the accessory apartments,
Oh, we're going back to
in
that.
page 13, I don't know if you have that, it says sets a maximum net floor area of an accessory apartment of not less than 30% of the net floor area of the principal dwelling, or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less, except that such regulation may allow a larger net floor area for such apartments.
Where
That's a
where
lot
are
more
you?
Clarification.
Well, that's why.
Yeah.
I'll say it for the 5th time, and you can
We're-
say it
we're
for
doing-
the 6th time. Go home and read the regulation.
We're gonna do homework,
Yeah,
yes.
so we'll have to read it, make
Yeah.
sure it's, and then have those questions ready.
Move to motion.
All right,
Motion to set a public hearing date for proposed zoning regulation amendment, Town of Rocky Hill, to modify the language for parking space requirements, to set a public hearing date for January 19th, 2022 at 6:30 PM in the council chambers.
I'll second that. And then another immediately following the previous one. Because you can't do both of them at 6:30.
Wait, I'm gonna
That's
think
the way-
about that first.
That's the way we do it. I'm just teasing.
Approved.
Wow.
6:31.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else?
Opposed, motion passes.
I'm a stickler for language.
Item 5A, zoning enforcement update.
I was just given earlier I had a meeting on a different subject matter, but I was given a task about similar to your truck comment on near Mosier School. There's I think it's Silo Drive area, there's a trailer that's parked in the road. I don't think we in zoning really deal with that because it's parked in the road, but I think it's strictly a trailer and there's no way to drive that trailer away attached to it, but I'll go check that out later. So most of what we're dealing with now are blight issues, once again, primarily. Tall grass is done until the springtime, which is nice. And commercial vehicles on residential properties. So, if you have
All right, 5B.
minor mods, I don't,
Question for you about zoning enforcement. Is that what this whole list of projects is?
That's something else. That's,
Okay.
I was gonna kind of talk about that during communication, but I could talk about zoning enforcement. With respect to concierge apartments, former Century Hills, we have had several housing code complaints, valid housing code complaints. Building department has had several building code complaints or complaints where people are doing work without permits. Fire department, I think, could have a separate department just for that particular property with respect to clogged trash chutes, with respect to vehicles hitting buildings, fires located in the garages below the buildings, fire doors being pried open and unable to close. Health department has had several violations with respect to mold, leaking sewage pipes. So we decided a while back to come together and meet as a group with the town attorney, and litigation has begun concerning all those violations. So this is just kind of keeping you
They're not
apprised
zoning.
as to what, pardon?
They're not zoning violations.
Oh, there have been unregistered vehicles, there have been, I mean,
All different.
oh, everything, I mean, just everything. So, we all sat down together and came up with a plan as far as, instead of tackling one at a time, let's work together and try to get something done. So this is kind of like the owner's way of saying, well, we're trying something or we're doing something, but we're forging ahead with the litigation because it's very egregious on some of these things, so.
Is there a property manager separate from the owner, or is there one and the same?
Property manager is on site, and then there's a regional manager, and the owner is in California.
Right, but is there a management company?
It's the property managers on site, no
Okay.
management company. No.
Looks like they have employee. Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
So that's why I put that in there, just to kind of make you aware that there's major litigation going on there. Plan and Implementation Committee, we haven't had a meeting in a while. We as staff are working with Pam Roach, who was hired by the town of Rocky Hill. She was originally hired to deal with the recycling program. She's working with Sustainable CT on that, and about a week ago, we met with her and the town manager because there were some issues with her just trying to meet with people without an appointment. So we did an introductory email to those parties that she'll be meeting with as far as staff goes, as far as what is Sustainable CT and how she's going to meet with a slew of us as far as, what we may have done over the course of 3 years, and then work with Plan Implementation Committee. I'll probably have her come to the next scheduled meeting that we have, and it may be a special meeting also, and she will, inform you as to what she's doing for certification. It's a voluntary certification process, and the town is looking to at least get to bronze. It's bronze, silver, and as far as I know, that's as far as it goes. There may be gold designation, I don't know, but she'll be meeting with
Now, in terms of town itself, like town properties and all that
town
stuff.
properties. Board of Ed will be included as well. To see, and there's a variety of different things that they talk about. They talk about recycling. They talk about cultural events. They talk about the Chamber of Commerce. They talk about affordable housing. They talk about all sorts of things. So that'll be coming up. Legislative update. We're going to talk more about Public Act 2129, and we're awaiting something with the recreational cannabis as well.
okay, before we move on.
Yep.
I wanted to talk about, since we're talking about, I wanted to talk about the December 1st special meeting.
Okay, that's what
And
I
I'm glad
was
Kim
gonna. I was gonna get there too.
Yeah, I'm glad Kim mentioned it, that normally we don't schedule public, special meetings in either November or December because everyone's busy, the commissioners, the public, and everyone else. I sent you a
Yep.
short email. I'm not too, I don't want to say happy, I'm a little concerned about scheduling this for December 1st. And normally when and it's not just a special meeting, it's a public hearing that is going to be conducted at a special meeting. So normally when we schedule a public hearing like we did twice already tonight, the commission meets and discusses it, and then we have a motion to set a public hearing for a specific date. I'm a little upset that a public hearing has been scheduled outside of a commission meeting, and now we're may or may not be obligated to have that meeting. Now, the reason I'm concerned about the timing is, like I mentioned, we don't do it around this time of year because the public and commissioners are busy. If we do it in December, there's a possibility that a lot of people, or a number of people that would want to go to the public hearing won't be able to. I know I'm already booked for that night, December 1st, so I'm not going to be there. and there's probably a lot of people in the public that are concerned, because this isn't just, like we're gonna talk about zoning regulations. This is something that we've been talking about or waiting for. I did some research. Ames went out of business in 1990. The property's been vacant for 30-something years. So I don't understand why we're rushing into this now and not waiting until everybody is back after January 1st, so to speak.
Right.
And I really would appreciate if we could put it off to the special meeting schedule, which is January 26th. And there's a couple more reasons too,
Yep.
but.
All right. Kim, you want to respond?
Well, I just want to say that if you notice this evening, we put it on, and I mentioned this also before we talked about the regulation changes. The regulation changes, if I have to do a legal notice for these and you don't like them up front, that makes no sense. If a developer comes in with an application, like it or not, we set, it comes in and 21 days prior to a meeting, regular or special, and they get a hearing. That's always been the practice, and through the years, it's been the practice. And I know in previous years, we have had special meetings for large projects also. On
we've always-
off days.
I don't recall that.
I could go back.
I'm sure
and-
it's happened.
Yeah,
I mean,
oh,
we've
it's
been- we've been
happened.
around since, what, 18-something?
It's happened in recent history too. I'm thinking, what was Loctite, I think we had a wetlands meeting and a planning and zoning meeting on the same night for that particular project. Public hearings on the same night with both commissions. So, the applicant, had indicated that, and I agree, that because of the scope of the project, it's the biggest thing we've seen in a long time, it should have its own night.
Yeah.
It should not be on agenda, even with these small items. They should have their own night. I did converse with the chairman by phone, because I know by our bylaws, the chairman can set a special
Yeah.
meeting date, and based upon that discussion, and I said, we typically meet on Wednesdays, so how about this day, December 1st? Okay, so we decided on that date. I counted back 21 days, and if that was the case, then your deadline is this date, November 10th. So they submitted everything on that date.
So you determined the date of the meeting or the hearing before the developer decided to send this in?
The developer
what
was
you just
planning on sending this in, unbeknownst to me, they wanted to apply. They've been working on this for longer than I've been involved with it. And we had discussion, I had discussion with them, did they want to come in for the November 17th meeting? And then they said they couldn't get all the materials in. So then they were debating on whether or not to go to the December meeting.
The
So-
December meeting that didn't exist yet.
The December meeting
The
did
regular
exist
December
because you meet the third week
Yeah,
in
okay.
December. I said, you may have some other projects on that agenda,
Yeah.
and this should, because of the scope of the project, should have at least, because the public hearing will probably last more than one night.
Well, that's another point that I'm going to bring up, is you mentioned even that, when we're scheduling these, is we're gonna have a changeover possibly in
And
January.
that's every applicant knows that at the end of, after every election,
2 years, yeah.
towards the end of the year,
Well,
that's
let me
something we
finish.
say is the standard.
So we're likely to have different members in January. So we have a hearing, the way we handle public hearings, and if we have to recess it for further information, we specify what the additional information is required. Then come January, or, like, I'm not gearing this toward me, but I won't be there at the December 1st meeting. So there may be questions I have that we can't ask at the second session of the hearing, because we're already going to determine what we can cover in
That's correct.
any continued hearings. So you're cutting out people that couldn't make it that night. You're also cutting out people that may be on the commission in January or February. I could see this going 3 or 4 meetings.
I think.
Session.
We don't know, and that's how it is
let
with
me-
any application.
Let me,
I
let
know.
me, let me make it clear, like, I think applicants should not suffer because of elections, because of turnover in the commissioners and all that stuff. There is a process that applicant can come anytime they want. And it is the commission's responsibility to take it and make sure that they are not delayed.
But not,
Regardless of whether I'll be there, I mean,
But
who
not
knows,
to
somebody.
schedule meetings
excuse
on
me,
an off
one
night.
minute. Somebody may be sick at that day. One of the commissioner members may be sick. So in that situation, it's just like you won't be here, the other commission member may not be here. So does that mean that now we have to keep postponing things until we have a full board? No. I think we have to respect applicants and their requirements and what they are doing. We can't be just, looking at us and say whether I'm going to be here, he's going to be here, she's going to be here, right? I mean, we are just following our process where the process is applicant can come anytime they want. Whenever they're ready, they'll come. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we are, if.
correct. But we don't schedule meetings that are not already on our schedule. We just approved this at the last meeting, that are not already on our schedule. We don't normally do it. I'm sure there've been exceptions.
Right.
But we've got plenty of meetings coming up that we could handle this. And again, this is something that we've been waiting for 30 years.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now we're rushing into it
We are
at
not-
a time that's not inconvenient, but it's an odd time of the year to be handling this.
So,
And we're also responsible to the public, too.
yes, yes.
Now, the month of December, I'm not saying that everybody, but there are a lot of people that are very busy in the month of December, which is one of the reasons we don't schedule a second meeting.
Again, so does that mean that the Planning and Zoning Commission should not do its business because there might be, because there are holidays, there are
We
this, there
can
are
do
that?
our business, but
I
just
think
on our
The-
schedule,
And
The
again-
second meeting falls, I think is it,
there is no second meeting.
I know, but what I'm saying is the reason why we didn't, the second meeting would be the fourth
Right.
Wednesday of the month,
Eve.
which is, so it's
Christmas Eve.
the 29th.
Oh,
That's between Christmas and New Year's.
anyway, I just wanted to express my annoyance that
Do that.
Yep.
this was done without consulting with the entire commission, which is what we normally
And
do
that
when we
is-
set public hearings. And it's also at a very inconvenient time
Yep.
for two reasons, the month of the year and the fact that we may have commissioners in January and February and March that have no input
And-
on the
and-
initial
And that's
presentation.
nothing new for commissions because we have commissioner members who are absent. They review the
Yes.
video meeting minutes and they prepare themselves. If not, they recuse themselves and they don't participate.
Correct.
So it's,
But we
this
know in
process
advance
is
that there
nothing
could
new.
be- We know in advance there could be new members.
We don't know,
We
and
don't
I
know in
can't.
advance that we're gonna be sick.
But we cannot go in making assumption that we will have new commission members, so let's postpone everything.
It's happened every 2 years.
But that's not how the commission
You were
should.
not here 2 years.
And I mean, that's not how commission, the P and Z should run in anticipation of change. We should postpone everything and not
No,
take
you're-
any applications.
It's
and
on
not
the
do
applicant.
business.
I mean, it's not so much a problem for the commission as a problem for the applicant.
And the public,
And,
keep that in mind.
well, I work in public service, so yes, I keep that in mind all the time. The applicants, every time there's an election, been doing this a while, and every time there's an election, I always tell them, if you apply, and it's a public hearing process, if you apply towards the end of the year, there may be different commission members that may delay the process. And that's not up to the commission to say, okay, we're gonna wait, or whatever. It's up to the applicant to say, well, okay, it's fine, I'm fine with applying, or I'm not fine with applying. They either have to speed it up or slow it down, so that's up to them.
Do we know, traditionally in December, is there like not a large turnout for these public hearings?
We don't normally have them, so we don't know.
I wouldn't say that, because if you want me to go back through history, I will.
I'm just-
But
I'm
I'm
just-
saying that,
Had hearings in
we
December.
haven't had really large projects. We haven't had a lot of them.
Because this is
so-
huge. This is a
Yes,
huge
it is.
project.
So,
And this will be continued. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
probably not going to happen, in
It's
one
not gonna
sitting
happen.
because
It
it's
won't.
because of the
It won't.
scope of the project and the interest of, the public and all that stuff.
because there's a lot of interest out there. I hear it all the time, hear it every day, so.
So, for example, yeah, okay, I don't want to push this too much further, but I think this is being rushed for some reason other than just the applicant. But anyway, you hold the opening session of the hearing on December 1st. I'm sitting at home, or when I look at this stuff after and watch the video, the rerun of the video, and there's something that I want to ask a question of the developer. But when you recess the hearing, you say he'll be saying for the purposes of clarifying the parking, the position of the buildings, this, that, and the other, I might have a question about the height of a building or the use of a particular building and putting it somewhere else.
But-
I can't ask that question.
But you can
now.
always write email and say,
Yeah.
these are my concerns, I have
Yeah.
reviewed this application, these are my concerns, and I would like to bring them up, just like the public does it, writes emails and all that. And I want to make one thing very clear. There was an accusation made that there might be something going behind. Please don't go there. This is a political commission, and I do not get into politics.
Correct.
So please never, ever say that or accuse me of that.
I didn't accuse you of that.
You raised that issue, and I do not appreciate that. For the public record, I want to make sure that
I agree.
this was totally worked with the staff. Staff came to me with the suggestions, with the applicant and all that. And I always respect staff because staff has been here for many years before you and me. And she has a lot more experience, and I depend on her judgment. And this is her judgment. And Kim, please clarify if there was any other intention other than what you just said.
It's a major project. It's a major project we haven't seen the likes of which in a long time. We did this with Loctite, which was a major project as well. And we had 2 meetings on the same day, as a matter of fact. And I contacted the chairman by phone, and I said, according to bylaws, you have the right to schedule a special meeting. I do not. And that's was a suggestion.
Don't we check to see first if we have a quorum? Aren't we just shooting in the wind if we don't even know if we had a quorum for a date that's not planned?
Well, there'll be a quorum.
Yeah, I mean,
Because we have all
It's
three.
Wednesday. Typically, the commission meets on Wednesdays. In years past, we have had off meetings and special meetings on Wednesdays. They may not have been the 3rd or 4th Wednesday of the month. Typically, they're not the 2nd Wednesday of the month because Wetlands meets on the 2nd Wednesday of the month, so we don't want to conflict with meeting space. But we have had special meetings and hearings on the 1st Wednesday of the month in the past. COVID's been a very slow time. It's been a very slow time everywhere. So we haven't had these meetings in a long time, these special meetings, but when we did, we would have them typically on the 1st Wednesday of the month because Wetlands meets the 2nd Wednesday, and we have the 3rd and 4th for us. So it depends on what it is.
And again, we wanted to make sure that there is only one item for that day. Because again, you don't want to have people sitting here and we are discussing 5 other items and it gets a long
And
day.
it may be continued into January.
Yeah.
It could be continued into, it could be saying, okay, we're going to have the start of the hearing on the 1st. We may recess it till, depending on what it is, I don't know, but we
When
could
we did
recess it to 2
when
weeks
we did the
later,
Foundry.
and then we might recess it again till sometime in January.
The Foundry,
I
I
don't
think,
know.
went 5 sessions.
So, yeah, we don't know. And there's the ability to extend as well. They can ask for extension, we can ask for an
I remember the attorney,
extension.
I forget his, Romano, Attorney Romano gave us permission to extend
Yeah.
the time of it because it was so complicated.
Yeah.
And that was like 8 years ago and there's still nothing going
Yeah,
on.
No,
so,
and I mean, that's, that can happen. So it's not, I mean, we are not doing
This is not
something that's
unusual.
totally, brand new.
realize
I mean,
that.
we have gone through this process, and there is a process,
Yeah,
and,
I realize that, but, okay.
So-
I've made my point a couple of times.
Yeah.
I just hope the public can find the time to show up, that they're not too busy. That's one of my concerns, because this is in the middle of town. This is the most prominent property.
Yep.
Probably in the entire town.
No, and
Right
I
across
think
the street.
we took, I mean, when we discussed,
Yeah,
we
you
took
can't
all
tell,
those.
yeah, you can't tell an applicant, could you wait until, school's out in the summer? Because, we can't do things like that.
That's not what,
I know, but I'm just saying, we can't,
I just,
if they wanted to come in sooner, that would have been great, but, no, or later. And they have that option. That was their option.
So that's under communication, right? So you had
Yes.
that. I'd like to bring up the sidewalks, like you had brought sidewalks up, and I think we have to get that ordinance changed. So in the future, when we have sidewalk issues and, when there is a issue about contributing funds, we have that ready. So I think what do we want to do or have to do to get that going?
Because there's a sidewalk,
to talk to the town council.
there's an ordinance that talks
Address the
about if there's a subdivision and you waive the sidewalks, the money go into a sidewalk fund.
Right.
But I know this came up if there was a site plan coming in.
Yep.
And we don't have it in our regulations as far as waiving. We can put that in our regulations, and then we'd have to amend our regulations as well as the town ordinance.
So I think we want to get that process going, so maybe,
Sidewalks.
right, in a couple of months we are ready, because
But
we
this
want
is-
that money.
It's an ordinance, yeah.
Right,
You-
right.
You should, maybe
Yep.
schedule a speech at a town council meeting.
Yep, yep,
You know, let them know what's needed and what
right.
we'd like them to do.
Mhm.
And
Do we
then
need,
wait.
do we need one before the other?
I think we should discuss what we want,
And then,
See.
and then do a one-time shot?
yeah, I mean, decide how we would like to see the ordinance changed.
Is that a public
And
discussion, or is that a agenda item discussion? Before the
It's not anything that
presentation?
we're gonna be doing,
No, we have to amend our regs.
right, but we can't amend the regulations.
Until the
I don't
ordinance
think,
is done.
Until the ordinance is
That's what I'm
changed.
saying. What's the
Yeah.
order of operation here? That's
I
the,
think we should maybe chat about it at a meeting,
Yeah.
agenda item to discuss,
Could be done simultaneously.
yeah, and then go to the town council.
yeah.
Tell
So I think
them-
that's the plan that we should,
Yeah.
let's
So-
get it on the agenda to discuss,
Right,
not in a public forum, but as an agenda item. And then, that way we have a plan of action going forward. So we can
And
get,
then
if
once
we
they
Still would be
change
a-
it, then
I
we
mean,
have
it's a public
hearing to
meeting.
change
Yeah.
the regulations.
So I think, you know,
any way we
You
can
can
start,
advise
any way
us.
we can start the
Yeah.
process, we need to start the
Yep.
process.
and that's why I like, let Kim handle that. She can advise us, and, we'll do whatever we have to do. Okay, so it's on the agenda now. Item 7, we don't have any bills to approve.
No, we do not.
Can I have a
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Passes.
Sidewalks.